Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes. This is biology session, excretion, the waste disposing system, part 3. In part 2, we have studied about the internal structure of kidney and about the structure of nephron. Today we are going to discuss about the mechanism of formation of urine. So before entering into that, so let us recall the structure of kidney. How is the shape of the kidney? Bean seed shape. What is the color of the kidney? Reddish brown in color. So in the longitudinal section, outer part is called cortex, which is deep red in color, whereas inner part is called medulla. It is somewhat dull red in color or little bit brownish in color. Okay. So what are the two main blood vessels which invade the kidneys? Renal artery and renal vein. And we also studied that finally we concluded yesterday's class that the structural and functional unit of kidneys are called nephrons, which you are seeing here. This is the nephron. What are the main parts of nephron? There are two main parts of the nephron, that is Malpighian body and renal tubule. So up to here, this portion it is called as a Malpighian body. So this Malpighian body will form the Bowman's capsule. Okay, and or we can also call it as glomerular capsule. Okay, so this opens into proximal convoluted tubule, and this is the distal convoluted tubule, DCT. Tubular portion is divided into proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle. So this is a loop of Henle or Henle's loop, and the last part is distal convoluted tubule, which opens into the collecting duct. So this is the collecting duct. So these are the portions. So for example, here this one, these are all connecting other nephrons. All the nephrons connected together and opens into pelvis. That pelvis opens into the hilus region. From the hilus region there is a tube. What is that? Urinary tube. Okay, after filtration, the collecting duct opens into the pelvis region, where it opens into urinary duct or ureters, through which the urine is collected into the urinary bladder. Okay, and we come across there are three main steps involved in the filtration or formation of urine. What are they? They are glomerular filtration, the first one. This arrow mark represents the glomerular filtration, and the second one is tubular reabsorption. This one, this is the first step, glomerular filtration. The second step is tubular reabsorption, and the third step is tubular secretion. Tubular secretion. Okay, are you ready, children? Let us going and study the entire process of formation of urine in detail. Let us proceed. Mechanism of formation of urine. The formation of urine involves 4 stages. The first one is glomerular filtration. Second one is tubular reabsorption. The third one, tubular secretion. The fourth one is concentration of urine, because the urine which is formed contains large amount of water. So if that water is lost, again it may lead to some complications. So the water present in that final stage is reabsorbed. Okay, so that step is called concentration of urine. What are the four main steps? Once again, glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, tubular secretion, and concentration of urine. So first one, glomerular filtration. What happens during glomerular filtration? So actually, what are the two main blood vessels which invade the kidney? Renal artery and renal vein. The first one, renal artery, which divides into minute capillaries called efferent arteriole, which extends again, it forms the efferent arteriole. These are the capillaries. So the efferent arteriole plays very important role in the glomerular filtration. The blood flows from renal artery to glomerulus. Here see the figure. This is the glomerulus. So in the Bowman's capsule, the network of capillaries formed by arteriole, efferent artery, that called efferent arteriole will form the capillary network inside this Bowman's capsule, which is called glomerulus. Okay. So the blood flows from renal artery to the glomerulus through efferent arteriole. Okay, observe the figure. And glomerular filtration in the nephron takes place here. The glomerular filtration takes place in this glomerulus. What is glomerulus? It is the network of capillaries formed by efferent arteriole. Okay. The blood flows inside the glomerulus under the influence of pressure due to the narrowness of efferent arteriole. As a result, it undergoes pressure filtration, or it is also called ultrafiltration. What do you call this type of filtration? Ultrafiltration. What is ultrafiltration means? It filter only unwanted substances, or selective filtration we can call it as. Okay. So here only unwanted useless substances present in the blood are filtered, and useful substances like some amino acids, glucose, certain hormones, okay, they cannot be filtered. Only nitrogenous waste materials, excess of water, excess of salts, they are filtered. So here try to answer these questions. Which arteriole has more diameter, efferent or efferent? Which arteriole has more diameter? Okay, efferent arteriole has a more diameter compared to efferent, because more pressure is required for this filtration. Okay. So for this filtration, the pressure required is provided by the narrowness of this efferent arteriole. Okay. Then what are the substances that are filtered into the glomerular capsule? Okay, this is the glomerular capsule. What are the substances that are filtered? Okay, just now we have discussed. They are the urea and the nitrogenous waste materials. Okay, that is creatine. So we have studied in the beginning itself what are the components which are present in the urine. Let us recall. That is excess of the electrolytes. Okay, that is sodium, potassium. Okay, so excess of glucose also to some extent, urea and chlorides, and certain proteins like creatine, and salts of calcium, phosphorus, uric acid. These are all filtered in the glomerular capsule. Okay, children. So the waste molecules which are filtered, the nutrient molecules and water are filtered out and enter the Bowman's capsule. What are the substances which enter the Bowman's capsule? Waste molecules, nutrient molecules and water are filtered out and enters the Bowman's capsule. Okay. Next part of the urine formation, the second step, tubular reabsorption. Tubular reabsorption. In the tubular reabsorption, the filtrate from glomerular is also called, it is also called primary urine. Okay, in the tubular reabsorption, the filtrate from the glomerular is also called the primary urine, which almost equal to blood in chemical composition except the presence of blood cells. Okay, which type of filtration takes place in the glomerulus? Ultrafiltration. In that ultrafiltration, unwanted substances only filtered. RBC, WBC, platelets, these are all important constituents of blood are not filtered. So after the filtration, the glomerular filtrate, it is similar to the composition of blood except the presence of blood cells. Blood cells are absent. Okay. It passes into the proximal convoluted tubule. So after the filtration, it passes into the PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. The useful substances in the primary urine are reabsorbed into the peritubular network. Okay. Absorptive epithelium is present. With the help of that, it reabsorbs the useful content which is present in the filtrate. Okay. Where? In the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay. The tubular reabsorption, the peritubular capillaries which are present, the peritubular capillaries around the proximal convoluted tubule, PCT, reabsorbs all the useful components of primary urine such as glucose, amino acids, vitamin C, potassium, calcium, sodium and chlorides, and also the 75% of water is reabsorbed. So here this image you can see here, this diagram is not found even in your textbook. So here in the proximal convoluted tubule, so only observe this part. Okay, this is the distal convoluted tubule and loop of Henle. So reabsorption takes place in all portions. So here glucose and the sodium Na plus, amino acids, proteins, vitamins, lactate, urea, uric acid. Okay, these are all out of which glucose is reabsorbed, some amino acids are reabsorbed, some proteins are reabsorbed, and vitamin C is reabsorbed. Okay, lactate, lactic acid. Okay, this is unwanted substance only. So these are in the form of ions. Some of the sodium reabsorbed, potassium reabsorbed, calcium reabsorbed, magnesium reabsorbed, bicarbonates reabsorbed, and water reabsorbed, chlorides also reabsorbed. 75% of water is reabsorbed. Where? In the proximal convoluted tubule. If anything is left over, again here see, in the loop of Henle also some reabsorption takes place. Okay, that is sodium, potassium and chloride. These are very important salts which maintain the osmotic balance. Okay, and these are the which are filtered, which are not observed: urea, uric acid, creatine, some drugs, means the medicines which we take, and the ammonium, in the form of ammonia, very dangerous. It is also retained in the filtrate, not reabsorbed. Okay, some amount of water which is missed here, again observed in the loop of Henle. Only urea is left over. So this urea will pass into the proximal convoluted tubule, and if any more water and salts are there, its absorption takes place. Okay, and finally water, urea will be eliminated in the form of a urine. Okay, so next step in the formation of urine, the third step, tubular secretion. Tubular secretion. So before going to tubular secretion, let us try to answer few more questions. If you drink more water, will you pass more urine? First question. The second question, what are the substances reabsorbed into peritubular network from proximal convoluted tubule? Okay, we have discussed. So what are the substances which are reabsorbed? Vitamin C, potassium, amino acids, glucose, calcium, sodium, chlorides, and 75% of water is reabsorbed. Okay, the first question, if you drink more water, will you pass more urine? Of course, it depends on the climatic conditions. Okay, if the weather is cool, without drinking water also you will pass more urine. Okay, next, tubular secretion. The tubular secretion, after reabsorption in the proximal convoluted tubule region, the urine travels through the loop of Henle into distal convoluted tubule, and here some other wastes like extra salts, ions of potassium, sodium, chloride, and hydrogen ion, which secretes from the peritubular capillaries into the distal convoluted tubule. It occurs mostly in the distal convoluted tubule, which is also surrounded by peritubular capillaries, peritubular capillaries, means very minute blood vessels. So this maintains a proper pH. What is pH? pH is very important in the osmotic balance. This maintains a proper concentration in pH. pH determines the acidity and basicity. The pH of the urine is slightly alkaline. Okay, smaller amount of tubular secretion also takes place in the area of proximal convoluted tubule. Small amounts of tubular secretion also takes place in the area of proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, so in the previous diagram itself we have come across in the tubular secretion what happens. Actually this tubular secretion is an active secretion of waste products by blood capillaries into the urinary tubule. Okay, it is the active secretion of waste products by blood capillaries into urinary tubule. So this tubular secretion, it ensures removal of all the waste products from blood. What are those waste products? Urea, uric acid, creatine, salt ions like potassium, sodium, and hydride ions H+. Then this maintains, what is the main function of this tubular secretion? Maintains the maintenance of proper concentration and the pH of urine. Okay, the main purpose of tubular secretion is to maintain the concentration and the pH of urine. So once again you observe this picture here. The entire mechanism of formation of urine is shown here. So efferent arteriole, the efferent artery enters into the nephron in the form of minute capillaries called efferent arterioles. This efferent arteriole will form the glomerular capillaries or glomerulus, and it comes out. Efferent means incoming, efferent means outgoing. The arteriole, renal artery, enters the nephrons in the form of efferent arteriole and exit the nephron in the form of efferent arteriole. Okay. So here this efferent arteriole only forming the peritubular capillaries. See here, peritubular capillaries. So here the numbers represent the steps. The first step is filtration. Glomerular filtrate is formed. The second step, in the proximal convoluted tubule, reabsorption takes place. The third step, secretion, tubular secretion, which takes place in the distal convoluted tubule. Okay. From the loop of Henle, it enters into the distal convoluted tubule. And the fourth step, after the final formation, the concentrated urine is eliminated out. That is called micturition. Okay, urinary excretion. So excretion is equal to filtration minus reabsorption plus secretion. See the equation here. You have to remember this equation. Excretion is equal to filtration minus reabsorption plus secretion. See, filtration, reabsorption, secretion is equal to excretion. Okay. Next, step, the concentration of urine. The concentration of urine, 75% of water content of the nephric filtrate is reabsorbed in the region of proximal convoluted tubule, which we already come across. 10% of water passes out of filtrate through osmosis in the area of loop of Henle. In the loop of Henle also 10% of water passes out of filtrate by means of what is that? Osmosis. The further concentration of urine takes place in the area of collecting tubes. Collecting tubes. Okay, the distal convoluted tubule opens into the collecting tube. In the presence of a hormone, pituitary hormone called as a vasopressin. What is that hormone? Vasopressin. Okay, the hormone is secreted only when concentrated urine is to be passed out. Okay, the vasopressin helps in the reabsorption of sodium, chloride, potassium salts. Okay. Next, the absence of vasopressin. So if this hormone is not produced, produces a dilute urine, means reabsorption process is hampered. The hormone action maintains osmotic concentration of body fluids. So it is very important hormone. So the hyposecretion of this hormone leads to diabetes insipidus. Okay, there is one disease called diabetes insipidus, which is the symptom of excretion of excess urine, passage of excess of urine. Okay, the deficiency of vasopressin causes excessive repeated dilute urination called diabetes insipidus. It is called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes mellitus is another disease which is caused due to the deficiency of insulin secreted by pancreas. But this diabetes is different from that. Diabetes insipidus means passage of excess of urine or repeated urine and the dilute urine. Okay, these people cannot enjoy the journeys. Okay, frequently they have to pass the urine because the mechanism of concentration of urine is hampered due to the deficiency of which hormone? Vasopressin. Okay, this vasopressin hormone action is maintains osmotic concentration of the body fluids. Okay, next, so that's why you think why it is not secreted when a person drinks a lot of water. Okay, the hormone is secreted only when concentrated urine is to be passed out. Okay, that is a main point you need to remember. Next, now the urine is formed. Concentration of the urine is the last step in the formation of urine. So answer this question: why more urine is produced in winter? Okay, because this vasopressin is not produced when it is very cool, insufficient. So more urine. What happens if reabsorption of water does not take place? Okay, if reabsorption of water does not take place, dilute urine is passed. Now let us discuss the remaining parts of the excretory system, that is the ureter. There are a pair of whitish narrow distensible and muscular tubes of 30 centimeter length. What is the length of the ureter? 30 centimeter average. Each ureter arises from a fissure of kidney, that is hilus, from hilus of the kidney. It moves downward and obliquely opens into the urinary bladder. The ureter carries urine from the kidney to the urinary bladder. The movement of urine in the ureter is same like the movement of food in the esophagus. Peristalsis movement, wave like movement. Okay, here see the kidneys, bean seed shaped kidneys. This is the hilus region, notch. From this a pair of which color? Okay, a pair of whitish, it's a little bit whitish color tubes. They are called ureters or urinary tubes. They open obliquely into the urinary bladder. Okay, the urine which is formed in the kidneys or in the nephrons opens into the pelvis region, from where a funnel like the starting point of this ureters is funnel like. So they collect the urine which is formed and opens into the urinary bladder. Okay, this movement, peristaltic movement, means wave like movement takes place and the urine is pushed into the urinary bladder. Okay, next, urinary bladder and urethra. Urinary bladder, it is the median pear shaped and distensible sac that occur in the pelvic part of the abdomen. It stores urine brought by two ureters. The storage capacity of urinary bladder is 300 to 800 ml of urine. Okay, so it is elastic sac like structure. Some special epithelium is present, transitional epithelium. So with the help of that, the urine can be stored temporarily. Urethra. Urethra is a tube that takes urine from the urinary bladder to outside. Okay, it is the opening, we can say. It is the opening of the excretory system. The opening of urinary bladder into urethra is guarded by a ring of muscles or sphincter muscles are present. Okay, the urethra is 4 centimeter long in the females and about 20 centimeter long in males. Its opening is separate in females, but it is common with the reproductive tract in the males. That's why means that there is a common passage in the males for the passage of the male gametes, the spermatozoa and the urine. So that's why it is a common tract. That's why it is called urinogenital duct. In males it is called as a urinogenital duct. Okay. See here the urinary bladder, which is sac like. It stores about 300 to 800 ml of urine, storage capacity of the urinary bladder. Okay, urinary bladder opens into the urethra. So this urethra is 4 centimeter long in the females and about 20 centimeter long in the males. The male, it is called as a urinogenital duct. Next, last step, the expel of urine. The urine is temporarily stored in the bladder, and there are two sets of the circular sphincter muscles in the urinary bladder. When the bladder is filling up, both these muscles are constricted, so the exit is closed. However, as the pressure of the urine increases, the walls of the bladder are stretched, and this triggers off an automatic reflex action which causes the upper sphincter to relax. But the lower sphincter is under the control of brain, so urine can still be retained until this muscle is relaxed too. So control of urination is not passed by very young children, but it is gradually learned. Means the urination is a kind of reflex action in the young kids, infants below 1 year, so they can't stop. Okay, automatic reflex action which causes the upper sphincter to relax and the urination occur. The process of urination is called as micturition. Micturition means passing out urine. So urge for this micturition, it occurs when the urinary bladder is filled with 300 to 400 ml of urine. The stretched bladder stimulates nerve endings to develop the reflex. However, the urine can be retained in the urinary bladder till it gets filled up to a maximum capacity of 700 to 800 ml. So at this time, the urge becomes painful and leads to voluntary micturition. So the total amount of urine excreted per day is about 1.6 to 1.8 liters. Its quantity increases with large intake of fluids like water, fruit juices, and decreases with the lesser intake of these fluids or okay. So always remember this urine should not be stopped. So compulsory we need to think about it. So do all the cells need excretion? Yes, in the cells, cells are called the structural and functional unit of the living organisms. So they maintain the homeostasis. All metabolic activities takes place in the cells also. So excretory substances are produced at cellular level. Okay. So excretion is needed. So why we advise to take sufficient water? Why we are advised to take sufficient water? Because 75 to 80% of all the body fluids contain water. Okay, if the water content is less, it disturbs the homeostasis. So that's why we need to take 4 to 5 liters of water every day. Next, why do some children pass urine during sleep at night until the 15 or 16 years of age? Okay, think about it. Why do some people pass urine during sleep at night until 15 or 16 years of age? So it is a reflex action. Sometimes due to some genetical defect it may happen. So exact reason, let us think. So another after the age of 40 years the functioning of all body parts including the kidneys will usually decrease, because the structural and functional units, nephrons, about 10% of these nephrons will die, okay, after the age of 40. Every 10 years the 10% of the number of nephrons. So we discussed that 1 million, about 1 million nephrons are present in each kidney. So the nephron number start decreasing after 40 years of age. Okay, right. Okay children, I hope you understood. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for receiving latest updates.